charges be brought against the police officer who shot and killed Keon Fortuné at Linden. Protection and support for innocent citizens and businesses who must not be targeted, vilified, or used as political pawns. We believe the government is weaponizing fear, using unrest as a political tool to divide Guyanese and manipulate the narrative. But the people of Guyana are more aware now than ever. We reject that political culture entirely. We condemn the looting and destruction of private and public property, even as we are aware that there were opportunists who infiltrated the peaceful protest. We reject the broader system that shoots first and explains never. We reject the broader system that criminalizes scrapes instead of cultivating their potential. Many of us were once called scrapes. We know what it's like to be dismissed, devalued, used, and abused. We also know what it means to rise. Now is the time to raise Guyana's youth, not as weapons, but as architects of a nation's future. We must find ways to help them turn their ideas and creativity into opportunities to contribute meaningfully to society. Let us be clear. We're not calling for an end to protest. We're calling for a rise in purpose. Protest must continue peacefully, powerfully, and with clear, united demands that reach beyond this tragedy. Because unless we change the culture, we will only rotate the faces in power while the system remains broken. This is not a political alliance. This is a united stand for national peace, for justice, and for transformation. Guyana must rise, and this time it must rise for all. And this is signed on behalf and by the Guyanese Patriots again, the Alliance for Change, the Assembly for Liberty and Prosperity Party, the Vigilant for a New Guyana, D3ATH, concerned parliamentarians, the People's Movement, Simona Brooms, and other civic leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. We will now be taking your questions, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we ask that you observe the usual courtesy, identify yourself, the media agency you represent. I recognize a lady at the back before you, Travis. Svetlana Marshall from News Source.
How confident are you? I heard a call for the Commissioner of Police to be released pending the outcome of the investigation. But how confident are you that such an action will be taken by the government when the President said based on the reports of the pathologist that there was any issue of murder, forced drowning, and that little Adrianna died as a result of drowning?
Okay, Mr. Hughes will take that question.
And this could be applied to the investigation as well for which you're calling.
This one, another one.
The other one. And it's going to also the issue of the broad investigation that you're also calling for.
Okay.
Can I just ask that we ask her to ask the question because we actually not but are not hearing the question. So if I could ask her to ask the question and then we will, or step forward. Come all the way forward.
Svetlana Marshall from News Source. The President, we've seen the press conference by His Excellency President Yonge'S, and during the press conference it was indicated that based on the report of the pathologist, little Adrianna Young died as a result of drowning, and the issue of forced drowning and murder was reportedly ruled out. How confident are you, given that statement by the President, how confident are you that the calls for, one, the Commissioner of Police to be removed from office pending the completion of the investigation to which you're calling for, and the entire investigation being conducted itself, how confident are you that that will be done?
Thank you, Svetlana.
Thank you very much, members of the press, again, for being here. Svetlana, let me start off by saying the president, as far as I know, is not a pathologist. Neither is he a forensic expert, nor is he a qualified investigator. The only thing we know for certain, based on the report that came from Darren Wade, is that the cause of death was drowning. The finding of drowning does not rule out it being a homicide, which is a unlawful killing. One of the obvious issues that arises as a result of drowning as a cause of action is that the first issue is, where did the drowning take place? The only way we can begin to narrow the locations for drowning would be a result of the toxicology reports. And just to give you an obvious example, if the water in the pool has chlorine and any water that was found in her lungs or elsewhere in her body is not consistent with chlorine, it reduces significantly the possibility that she drowned in the pool. So I think it's completely premature in the absence of a toxicology report. Secondly, nobody has published the actual reports from the pathologists. And therefore, with the greatest respect to the president, it is unfortunate that he would make a expert's call, i.e. rule out forced drowning, when we have not had the benefit of seeing the professional report of any of the pathologists. So I beg to differ with the president. I think, unfortunately, he has added to the lack of confidence in the ability of either the Guyana Police Force or the interest of the government in having a true investigation that will give us results that we can all have confidence in. It's unfortunate that the president said that, because what it immediately discloses, unfortunately for him, is a rush to judgment and a rush to try and close the investigation when, in our view, it is still an active homicide. I just want to finish by saying it is for that reason that we don't believe that the authorized agencies in Guyana, i.e. the police, and now that the president has indicated where his preferences, should conduct this investigation. Just so that the public understands what the process is, all the government of Guyana has to do is make a request either to the British government or the government of the United States of America or the new Canadian Prime Minister, and they will immediately indicate whether their law enforcement agencies can come forward. I am pretty confident that all of those will be willing to render assistance once they're asked. So it's a simple ask. We're saying to the president, even to clear the Guyana Police Force and the commissioner, have that assistance, because the police have demonstrated that they have an interest. Finally, in relation to Commissioner having to go, for the reasons that I have just said, and because of the actions of the Guyana Police Force even before this body was found, and most importantly, the complete absence of the commissioner during any stage of this investigation to provide any information, the complete absence of the Minister of Home Affairs to provide any information when speculation was rife, I think is, in addition to the other obvious reasons, those are reasons why he should go immediately. Thank you.
Anyone else from my team would like to add anything to that? So we will take a question now from Mr. Travis Chase. Travis, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, Travis.
Travis Chase, Nike News. I just have two questions. Would you rule out another autopsy? Secondly, where's the opposition leader? He's notably absent from this gathering.
Nigel.
On the question of the other autopsy, sorry. We've already spoken to other pathologists, but it's very simple. They need to see the report first. They need to see the notes from the post-mortem, and then a second autopsy could be considered and be possible.
And the opposition leader?
Somebody else can take it.
The leader of the opposition and also our colleagues in the APNU PNC were invited. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it today, but we are very honored to have my colleagues Don and also Annette right here.
I guess the better question is, was a correspondence sent to the opposition leader to be present?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I recognize Khadija.
Good afternoon, Khadija Bath from South Africans. I have a question for Mr. Hughes. Could you say whether the autopsy report will be made public to put to bed a lot of the speculations as it relates to the difference in coverage? The family is saying that the autopsy report is one thing as well as Mr. Wade. However, the president is saying something else. Will this report be made public?
I think, as you know, Mr. Darren Wade is the attorney for the family, and that question really should be directed to him. What I can say is that we are providing support to him, and it certainly would be something we would encourage. But ultimately, it's a question for the family and Mr. Wade.
I recognize Svetlana hand up again. The cordless microphone, please.
Mr. Hughes, you're an attorney at law as well. The pathologist, according to reports that we've received, indicated that they were unable to state the time of death because of the state of the body. What are your thoughts on that? And secondly, the initial investigation conducted by the Guyana Police Force, of course, you know, initially the police said that the little girl was seen entering a vehicle, so as to suggest or infer that this little girl may have ran away, or let me say this, that she was abducted, all right? But how do you, or the parties here, see the kind of perception that was put there out in the public? And we've seen time and time again when teenage girls, children in general, go missing, there's a perception, especially for little girls, oh, they ran away. We saw also that there was an updated standard operating procedure. I don't know if you were able to get a copy of that or see it, but what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's sufficient to allow for when children go missing, the proper systems are in place and acted upon?
Several things arise from what you've asked, and if I can just address them. First of all, if the police, as they have said that they saw the young lady leaving the facility, if a proper investigation is being conducted, that means she was alive up to the time when they said she was leaving. That's the first thing. So the police were quite confident in having said that. Two, in relation to that statement, the mother specifically said that when they showed her the footage of the young lady going into the car, which had a published registration number, she said specifically to the police officer who was there, who showed her the footage, that is not my daughter. So that raises a whole series of questions. Why would the police, after having been informed by the mother of the child, say that that is not my child? Why would the police make a public statement saying that the child left in a motor vehicle which was identified at a specific time? So that means that the police are saying she was alive at that time. And more importantly, on what basis would they reject a statement from the mother who, having seen the same footage that they were relying on, who said to them, this is not my daughter? Why would they reject that? And the obvious question from the rejection is, what would motivate the Guyana Police Force not only to reject an identification or non-identification by the mother, but having rejected her statement, to go on to positively say that at a particular time this young lady was alive and was seen leaving the compound? I want you to understand there are two issues here that have to be investigated and why we're asking for international assistance. One is the obvious homicide. Two is the fact that there clearly was either a perversion of the course of justice or there was an intentional interference with the objective of misleading the investigation into what was a missing person. That must be included in any terms of reference, because the police have to say why they would reject the mother's identification, issue a statement that is contrary to what she said, and what was their intention and motive. And they themselves cannot possibly conduct such an investigation. In relation to the revised SOPs, one, it is an improvement, but it is too little, and unfortunately in this specific case, too late. I think one of the things that is evident from not only this incident, from the shooting in Linden, and particularly the failure of the Guyana Police Force to carry out the recommendations of the 2013 COI, is that the Guyana Police Force is in need of a complete overhaul. They have had specific recommendations from the best in the Caribbean and the best locally. They've rejected that. So it's not just a question of passing an SOP. As a matter of fact, that's an insult to hustle to pass an SOP in the hope that it will pacify the absolute rejection that the public has and the lack of confidence they have in the police.
The first part of the question,
Which is?
the pathologist being unable to state the time.
Okay. I'm happy you asked about the pathologist, because I just want the Guyana public to know that the only equipment that exists in any location where they conduct a postmortem in Guyana, whether it's Memorial Gardens or public hospital, is the gurney on which the body is rolled in. There's no other equipment at all in the country, and I say that not from hearsay. I say that from the fact that I have attended several postmortems. I know Dr. Singh has complained. The first request from the doctor, the very first request, is what's considered standard globally, an X-ray of the dead. And the X-ray should be done before the body enters the freezer, because of course then you have the most accurate X-ray result of the state of the body. Because once the body gets frozen, there are things that may change in the body. So to start with, it's an absolute scandal that we would not even have an X-ray machine available for the conduct of postmortem. Secondly, in relation to the findings, we have not seen a single report from any pathologist, not one. We're getting reports from people who said they spoke to them, and as far as I know, the president has not spoken to them. And therefore, where he seeks to rule out forced drowning, until and unless that is specifically set out in the pathologist's report, we do not seek to rely on it, and unfortunately, given his position now, we unfortunately do not accept it. We have no confidence in it.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the broad issue of confidence in the police force and the recent actions or non-actions, not only with the Adrianna Young case, but with other cases, I will ask Don Hastings and Darwin Bess to share some comments. Don?
Thank you, Ms. Allard. Good day to everyone and your viewers. I want to begin by saying, together we are better. And we must together continue to talk about national issues or national crisis. As in the case of today's press conference, I decided to join my fellow colleagues, friends, those who are very concerned about what is happening in this country. And on the note of the way the police handled the matter, I want to say we have lost confidence in our Guyana police force. And why? Because of the way they responded, firstly, to this matter when it was reported to them. Secondly, of the false information that they give out to the families and to the entire world, the nation. And this will continue because we have not tackled the root cause of what is happening. We will continue to call on the government to ensure that the public gatherings public protests, that is, protests that are done in a peaceful manner, be honored throughout this country. When people decide to come on the street to protest in seek of justice, their protection must be honored. We have a responsibility as representatives of the people, as political leaders, parents, concerned citizens. We will continue to call for justice, not only for little Adrianna Young, but it is because of an ongoing and continuous injustice that is being meted out to our young people. And I will say again, I remember the children of Madhya. Have we gotten justice for them? No. I remember the Henry boys. Have we gotten justice for them unto this day? No. And there are so many more that I can continue with. So I am happy today to have you media persons and for your viewers. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon to the press. I first want to use the I first want to use this opportunity to ask of every Guyanese to stand with the family of Adrianna Young, and not just her, but all the other victims that we would have been seeing popping up lately. One of the reasons why I've decided to join this movement is because it is clear that what we are being faced with today is a culture. Okay, so no matter how much, like the statement would have claimed, we rotate pieces. Unless we change the culture, the system will continue to operate in the same manner, where a politician picks up and call whoever he needs to stand up. So no matter who's here today or who's in Linden, if the corruption continues, then we can't expect justice. The reason we have justice, we're kind of justice because of the protests. Because if we would have gone with what was told, we would have been still looking for that car license plate. You all know it. How did we find out that the person died, the Boston was killed wrongfully? Once again, a broken system. How did we find out the guy in Linden was actually murdered? Once again, public pressure. This movement is not going to stand with any Guyanese to destroy properties. It's not going to stand with any Guyanese to destroy homes of people. Like the young lady got bleach in her face. We condone that. We need the citizens to understand the scrapes, as they call them, to come out and to continue to protest. Protest to end to this culture. Protest to bring in. We must know why we'll protest to this culture. Victim of this culture. This is why I understand it. This is why I believe the father. This is why the police is doing what they did. I stand as a victim. I was charged multiple times. So I understand. But let's not stray away. I understand. And I want the government to understand. The reason we are calling those people today is because we have neglected them. And I was once that was homeless. I was once one of those people that had no food to eat, that had no shoes to wear. But because of good leadership, because I had the opportunity to grow up in a society where the leaders didn't leave us behind. And if we have leaders here that see those people for their true potential, then they will no longer. I drove here today and the roads were clear. You know why they were clear? Because the guns came out. That's why they were clear. But that's putting a bandage on it. That didn't fix the problem. So what's the plan? We bring the guns out and send them home? No, we fix the system. That is how we bring change. We fix the system. And if the president wants to stand by what he's saying, this is not an attack on him, but he said he wants an impartial investigation. He can't use the police in the first place to investigate themselves. So I stand with investigation, bring back trust to this nation, to bring healing to the kind of governance this country deserves. And I scrapes. And everyone in this movement wants to align with our message and our call is you into citizens that all of us are going to be proud of, and you're not going to be behind anymore. I thank you.
Thank you. We also have some comments from Ms. Simone Brooms, followed by Nigel London from Linden. Simone?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the media. I want to pick up on two things from Svetlana, but before, from the outset, let me tell you, I recognize the people on the streets, our young boys, girls, women, and young men, as Guyanese people who've been neglected, and all type of names are being placed upon them. I see them as wonderful Guyanese people, and I stand here today to represent them. I will not endorse and refer to them by no other name than Guyanese people who a system is oppressing. Svetlana asked a question about how do we treat with missing young girls. Since 2020, it is something that every single day almost you can find on social media a young girl missing. There's a pattern in the age range starting from 11 years old, 11 to 13. Most times you look at it, and there's no system yet in place that is working to address that matter. And let me bring one to you, one that I dealt with a mother who came to me indicating that her daughter went missing, go to the police, and 3 weeks later, the police told her, we can do nothing. When you find the girl, just inform us. That is what you call failure. There's no system. Had there been a system, that would not have happened. And so I'm calling at this time, how are you, the protection for our young girls? I think crime against girls and women in this country is out of control. There's a pool right here, and I'm saying that it is not a closed shop with a pathologist or the president attempting to be a pathologist. It was a said Guyana police force who said that that baby girl was not in this compound, neither was she in the pool. They had several persons. We had persons who operating as media also right here saying that that child was not in here. In fact, this premises was being protected by the said police force who was saying to the public and the parents, you're not allowed in here. She's not here. She is left in a car. For me, it is deliberate and it's a failure. And I am adding my voice, and I will continue to add my voice to this. I'm happy to be a part of this wonderful team here, that the Commissioner of Police must go. Don't start from the bottom. We have to take it from the top. The Commissioner of Police has been failing in several matters. Several matters. And like Mr. Nigel Hughes and all of us, the young man from Linden, who we got eyewitness saying that, listen, I saw the police shot him in his eyes. Why this man is not charged as yet? I thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, and thanks to the members of the media who are here, and also to the team of patriots, Guyanese who understand that there's a cause. Travis, my brother, I was hoping you'd have asked whether or why a member of the People's Progressive Party is not here, since we should all be here standing to speak to matters of national interest and unity. However, since I'm from Linden, I came all the way here to speak to matters that affect us and that started before this unfortunate situation. A young man by the name of Ronaldo Peters was shot. That's the first time that a report or a statement was published, issued by the Guyana Police Force, containing untruths. It led to a response because persons were upset that the police were not telling them the truth. That response, of course, was taken to the streets, was seen in the streets, and a young man, Mr. Fudgenet, was headed home, and he was shot. He was not in the protest, he was heading home. The reports we got was that a police officer, clad in khaki clothing, would have lowered the gun that projects the tear gas and raised a gun with a live round and shot Fudgenet in his eye. That officer has not been charged. Further, we've not seen any report, I don't know if you're aware of it, of the RSS, the Regional Security Service. There's been no report published, but Kendall, who shot Mr. Peters, has been charged. Further, the video footage, there is footage of Ronaldo being put into a minibus, a minivan, and there are officers, or there were officers in that van. There was a driver of that van, and all we're hearing about is Kendall and nothing else. We demand, not ask, we demand that those officers be made known and that they too should be brought to justice. Further, last night, and I don't want to be in any way insensitive, but it seems as if the members of the Guyana police force are given an order to shoot in the eye, because another Londoner was shot in his eye while he was in an apartment seeking to evade the policeman's gunshots, reckless gunshots. He was in an apartment and then the shooting lulled. The man, his wife was in another apartment, so he tried, of course, to get to his family. He pushed the door a little bit ajar to get out, and the door was pushed in by a police and he was shot in his eye. Do we classify Mr. Terry Hollingsworth as a scrape? As a thug? We are here to demand that that officer be made known, his identity be made known, and there should be justice for that as well. Further, in Wayacabra, a young lady who made social media, was on social media seeking safety, protection, and anything she could have had for her children and herself from an abusive man. Today that young lady, her mother and her sister, are dead. Has there been any ballistics done on the weapon, since we told the weapon was an unlicensed one? We are deeply concerned as citizens of this country. I am deeply concerned because it seems as if when there's a need for target practice, Region 10 or Linden is identified. We are concerned. It seems as though there are no longer batons in the Guyana police force. That is a thing of the past. We must be approached with live rounds, AK-47 assault rifles, as if we are at war with our policemen. Further, I'm concerned about the fact that in this situation, it seemed to be too expensive to empty a pool when it was said that she was in there. Even more so, I do not know how Air Finale can rule out forced drowning without understanding what it speaks to. If her skin would have been normal, but they say she drowned, that's forced drowning, somebody may pump something into her lungs. But how do you say that the pathologist ruled out something without publishing those results? We are concerned about the manner in which these matters are being dealt with in our country. It is bothersome. It is troubling. And there must be a ceasefire. There must be a conversation with all parties involved. One of this nature, or a body of this nature, should expand. Let's have sensible conversations, meaningful conversations. Finally, I say to you that to have so many different political parties represented here, ethnic groups represented here, it speaks a lot and volumes to the hope that lies ahead of us in Guyana. We can do better, and we shall do better. We shall ensure that better is done. Clifton Hicken needs to go, but he is supervised by Robeson Ben. Why should he stay? Robeson Ben was appointed to cabinet by Air Finale. Why should he remain? We have lost confidence in governance or the manner in which it's being done in our country. I thank you.
Thank you, Nigel. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the strengths of this group, this union we see here, is that we've been able to attract young people. Many of you are familiar with Richie of Mad Music and the Bad Family Music. And so Richie would like to make some statements.
An announcement first.
An announcement.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here. My name is Ruiz Young, aka Richie Rich, producer, music, and video. I want to make something very clear to Guyana and to the world. I'm not taking this, what happened here, for an opportunity to say, oh, Richie came out, and this is not it. I am a father of 3 children, 2 daughters, 1 son. And what has happened here it broken me. I was in tears. Me, my team, as you guys know, I'm with Mr. Darwin Bess. I've been 36 hours working day and night on an app that is designed for the Adrianna alert. What that means is when our children or anybody, this is not, let's not say children only. Let's say anyone that is missing your loved ones. This is it, your loved ones that is missing. This app will go off immediately, where this app is installed in your phone, and when the missing person, when the police officers who, you know, give the picture, profile, whatever, your phones will be going off. Blim, 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 blim. Your phones, every technology. I want to Digicel, e-networks, everyone to please support this app. 2, that the same way how you guys put out, oh, we have this combo or we have this this plan or whatever, I want you guys to affiliate yourself with this app and help us with this app. So when we triggered this this Adrianna alert, it must reach the whole country, that when these persons that adopt or kidnap must be panicking, because this app, the whole Guyana will know that this person is missing. We've got permission from the father, right? Yes, we have permission from the father to launch this app. And 2, I want to make it clear that I am not, this is not a political something. I've been attacked right now because of a footage of a photo that is going around. Because I'm standing here. This here, I'm seeing, this is my opportunity to be the voice of the voiceless. The voice for the voiceless. Because I have a lot of friends that are businessmen that is afraid to come out. Because you know why? He's afraid that the system will attack him. He's afraid he runs out with business, right? This is not on my part. I am here standing with Mr. Darwin Bess and everyone here, and I want to thank Mr. Darwin Bess, because he, when I went to him, I asked him, Bob, and he said, hey, I'm not going to give you a plate of food, meaning that he's not going to give me money. He's going to teach me how to fish. Mr. Darwin gave me a rod 3 months back, and right now he taught me how to fish. And this same thing that Mr. Darwin Bess has given me, I want to give it back to all our brothers and sisters. This is not between black, white, coolie. I don't care. My best friend is an Afro-Guyanese. All the way. You know what we taught each other? He taught me the streets, and I taught him how to make money. People, we need to change the system. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Richie. Ladies and gentlemen, any other questions from you?
Yes. Nicole Telford.
Oh, Nicole, please go ahead, Nicole.
Vivian. My question is, given the chaos that occurred at the Georgia Public Hospital Corporation on the day of the police marching, do you feel the Guyana Police Force and the government of Guyana have failed the Guyanese citizens? That's one. And number 2, how could a civilian be with the police, giving the police directions? This is in the case of when the chaos occurred, and there were persons amongst the police force quite identifiable who were giving the police directions.
Sorry, that's okay. Who was the first one? Thank you, Nicola. In relation to the chaos and crowd disbursement, in the standard operating procedures of the Guyana Police Force before 2012, and in the recommendations made by the Commission of Inquiry, the first step that has to be done when you want to disperse a crowd long before you go to arms is you have a banner that says disperse. That's in the standard operating procedures of the Guyana Police Force. It's been there for years, long before 2012. And in 2013, when the report came out, it re-emphasized the fact that before the police go to any higher level or any escalation of the methodologies they want, they have to have a banner that says disperse. So in relation to the crowd in front of public hospital, they should have clearly made evident disperse. Similarly in Linden, they should have done that. So even their own standard operating procedures, they have not abided by. I think one of my colleagues wanted to deal with the second. You want me to go ahead? Terrence will.
Thank you, Mr. Elford, for that question. I think what happened here at Tushin amounted to, on the face of it, civilian interference, somehow or the other, with a proper investigation. And that ties in to the case that you just raised of a civilian being on the road with the police. In other words, what we are seeing is that the police force has been infiltrated and is now not under the control, in many ways, of the Minister of Home Affairs or the President. But it seems that there's dual control. There are different lines of reporting. They're reporting to civilians and in particular business people. I think what was worse is that one would have thought, after what the world watched here at Tushin, that the police would have thought 1,000 times before involving a civilian in enforcement actions on the road. But obviously they don't care. And it leads me to the conclusion that this is being authorized, this undermining of the police force, this creation of a separate paramilitary force, private paramilitary force, is being authorized by someone higher up. We do not see, I do not care, you do not see private paramilitary forces operating in this fashion in any democracy. So we can rule out those who want to claim today that our democracy is not under threat. The evidence is clear and it's abundant that from the private paramilitary forces giving orders to the police. I understand there is a video with an individual giving orders to the police, shooting in the air, but I also had my own employees who said that they saw the police come up in front of GRA and could not pass because that private paramilitary force was blocking the road. So that force is even superior to the police. This is a breakdown in policing in Guyana. This is a breakdown in our democracy. And I know that the ABC countries have always paid a keen attention to what is happening in Guyana and have always stepped in whenever they see serious challenges to our democracy. And I will take this opportunity to call on them to support us, the Guyana people, whether it's by sanctions, cancellation of visas, but to signal, because they are seeing what is happening. And I'm calling on them at this point because it does not matter. I have been speaking out. Over the last 3 months, we have seen the operator of that force involved in many questionable activities. In fact, the whole country knows this is why they were turned back at Lenora. I am calling on the ABC countries to step forward and help us suffering Guyanese by sending a strong message to the government about this private paramilitary force which is undermining our democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. Any other questions?
Good afternoon, Tamika Carter from the Guyana Times. I have a question pertaining to the call for the slaves to return to the streets. We saw several businesses being looted. We saw citizens being attacked. It's understandable that these are individuals that can be reformed and should be reformed. But in the time, as we call them back out to the street, what do you say to businesses and citizens that are terrified of persons returning to the streets and what they're doing to innocent persons? We saw a truck driver being attacked, several persons being robbed on the West Coast last night. What do you say to these persons who are afraid of those types of persons returning to the streets at this point in time?
I think several persons up to now have indicated that they were agents provocateurs connected to one of the leading political parties that infiltrated the genuine, honest Guyanese who were outraged and started to create havoc and chaos. There's actually on social media video footage of some of those agents provocateurs. If the Guyana police force is remotely interested in redeeming a simple millimeter of its reputation, it will identify those people because there are thousands of cameras, including Guyana police force cameras on almost every single post. You can't drive above the speed limit without you being taken, and therefore they should identify the agents provocateurs. Prior to the police opening fire outside of the public hospital, that was a quiet, relatively peaceful gathering of citizens who were interested in finding out the results. The only persons who had an interest in not having the results of the post-mortem known would be those that have some other interest other than the truth. And therefore they created the circumstances by having the police open fire without even following their own SOPs so that a situation will occur. And the consequence of that is, if you start shooting people, there will be disruption. So in relation to businesses, I can certainly say that everybody here, and I think you've heard them, and the Alliance for Change made a public statement that we condemn looting. We condemn the disruption. But you see, the reason for that disruption through the agents provocateurs is so that they can get all the citizens who want to legitimately protest not to protest. And we must not be put in a position where people who legitimately want to protest are afraid to go because the agents provocateurs are there and they have been used to disrupt. This is clearly in the interest of one particular political party and nobody else.
Mr. Hughes, before you go, I'm just trying to understand, in case I missed it, when was the call made for, quote unquote, the scrapes to return to the streets? I'm just trying to understand if I missed that.
Two things. One, every single human being, convicted mass murderer, let's go to the extreme case, is entitled to due process. Everybody. It does not matter how heinous the offense is. That person is entitled to due process. When you start to define people other than human beings by using terms like scripts, it is a pretext for people to use extrajudicial forces and power to take them out. So that's the first thing. Whether you like the citizens, don't like the citizens, they're entitled to due process. I have not heard anyone's call on the scripts. What I will say is I heard Mr. Darwin Best specifically say, one, he was once would have been classified as a script. Two, we have to help each and every citizen do better. And it is the obligation of the state to be able to do that. And by defining people so that you could then proceed to shoot and kill them, as we have seen happen, and we just heard the horror story from Nigel of somebody going into their house to shoot them. That is precisely why we want to address this. But I've not heard anybody call for scripts because it's offensive term. What we're saying is that peaceful protests must continue. If the police are interested in doing their job, they have enough technological equipment to be able to identify the agents provocateurs and deal with them. And on that aspect, they have our full support. As you mentioned that, just as a matter of interest, about 2 hours ago, they charged 2 young men with conduct that is connected to the disturbances in front of Lenora police station on the weekend. I personally saw these young men on Sunday. Let me tell you exactly what happened. They live opposite the police station in their mother's house. When the police fired tear gas and started to shoot, the entire crowd, this is above the Chinese restaurant, ran up the stairs through their house to escape the tear gas and out the back. There were 3 young ladies, 11, 9, and some other younger age, in the room. They panicked. They fled. The brothers who were on that veranda for the entire episode then went to look for their nieces. And in the process of looking for their nieces, not only were they arrested, they were also assaulted by the police and put in custody. I saw them at the station. They gave me the story. They were put on bail by the police the following day. Today they go to court and they are in jail, remanded. These are 2 people who were on the veranda looking on at what happened, lost their 3 nieces because the crowd ran through their house. No investigation. I brought this to the attention of Commander McBean. I brought it to the attention of Mr. Singh. And today they are going to jail for those facts. So when you want to ask about scripts, that's an example of what happens to you when you start to classify people as anything less than human.
Ladies and gentlemen of the media, any other question? Oh, sorry, my apologies. I was looking that.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rohan Hope, aka Always Be You. Assalamu alaikum. And I can tell you, the first thing when someone wants to control you, the first thing they do is to change your name. So we should make sure that we always address ourselves properly. But today's main concern is we were out there having peaceful protests. Peaceful protests. Travis, you know, we all were there together. And whatever happened out there that caused the SWAT team to come in, I think that the guns were one, and then one of the SWAT member gun-butted a female protester out there. That escalated the whole thing. But my thing is this: why when we had protests here, in front of this same hotel, the SWAT team did not arrive? Why is it when we had protests at Leonora, the SWAT team, they came probably like way hours in the night? My thing is this: does it determine the location that you are, that the SWAT team comes? Based on the community that the SWAT team comes? Why is it that every time we having peaceful protests, the SWAT team always comes out and it becomes a violent scene? We are talking here, Guyana, this must come to an end. The tragedy that happened here and the cover-up from the Guyana police force, we condemn that. The Guyana police force needs to get this act together. And it can only get the act together if it starts from the top. The top is where the main concern comes from. And Mr. President, this is a message for you. You're making press conference and statements out there. I've seen you. But do you really care about this child? Do you really care about what happened? Do you really want the truth of the matter and the public to know exactly what transpired here? Let the system work. Keep out of this. Let the system work so we can have true justice, not just for Adrianna, but for every citizen that had issues with the law. Let the system work. Keep out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I know we've had you here for quite a bit. I want to take this opportunity to seriously and sincerely thank you for being here, especially those of you who would have carried this press conference live, and I know there will be lots of reports coming out of this. So again, thank you, and to my team behind me, this is such an honor, such a privilege, and I know there is a lot more that we will be doing. Thank you.